Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you again for joining us on this Wednesday afternoon. Taylor and I are in a split screen today because here in South Central PA, we are getting feet upon feet of snow, and we're so excited. So
Absolutely. Oh, sorry. See, we're already kind of mixing into each other's windows here. But absolutely, Nikki, I just wanted to share with people who might be in balmy Florida. Somebody shared it was 80 degrees down there. Here in central Pennsylvania, it's about around 30 degrees, and we're supposed to be getting 20 plus inches of snow today. So, yeah, we're snowed in.
Yes. So again, thank you. We might have some glitches or interrupt each other. We're going to try very hard, though, to bring you a cohesive show. So with that being said, welcome to Mind Trippers, Mind Trip, where we explore the connections between mindsets and mental health.
Absolutely, guys. So let's go ahead and jump in and get started with the verse of this show. So today we bring you Jeremiah 29, verse 11. For I know the thought that I think towards you, says the Lord, thoughts of peace, not evil, to give you an expected end. Again, the thoughts of peace and not evil to give you an expected end. That Bible verse really resonated with Nikki and I as we were planning for this show, because as you guys know, we've been focusing on spiraling out of control, and then tying in the baby it's cold outside with the mental health illnesses that people suffer through the holidays and through the year. Just to know that this Bible verse is comforting and letting you know that the Lord does not have anything in your life that is planned to bring you evil, only planned to bring you good. And that's what we're going to jump into today.
Absolutely. So I think, with the show today, one, obviously it's a little bit different because of us not being together, which I was telling Taylor right before we hopped on, right before we went live. It is so odd because we have such great energy and mojo, and we can't do that over the split screen. And so it feels very different. So thank you again for bearing with us. But, Taylor, in going with what you said about, bringing peace and not evil, for me, what I like to think about is that, even things that are negative or difficult or obstacles we have to overcome provide so much to us. And when I was reading this verse with you, the first thing I thought about was that the evil that has come in my life at different times and things that I thought were hard brought me peace later on, because it allowed me to learn and build character and respond to things differently. And I wouldn't have that if it wouldn't have been for those obstacles. So I know that's kind of where my brain went today when we were looking up this verse.
I love that you said that, Nikki, and that you shared that, because that, guys, if you've been following our show for the past couple of months, we talk about reframing bad and negative circumstances. And what Nikki just shared is, yes, maybe some evil things from her perspective will come into her life, but she makes a genuine attempt to turn things around and see it in a positive light. Like you said, character building.
Mm-hmm.
I know for me specifically, we've talked about my health anxiety and spiraling out of control with that, and just, losing my mind with like the heart issues and my husband's muscle twitching that's just been happening for months on end. But the Lord is not making us go through any of that to bring evil to us, and to me, I see it as something that not only is character building, but trying to show me that I can make it through anything as long as I keep the faith, as long as I keep my mindset straight, and as long as I continue to, work and pray towards things, it's going to be okay.
Absolutely. And Taylor, I love that you also brought up that a lot of your concerns this year were around your husband as well. So I think, this show today, we're going to talk about mental health as a whole. I know for the last 2 weeks, we focused on anxiety and depression. So we will continue to cover that, but we're going to broaden those mental health diagnoses. And I think I also want to bring the perspective of, you may not be feeling any of these things yourself, and that's great, but that does not mean you don't have trials and tribulations when you have a loved one going through something. I know, Taylor, when you were experiencing your own health issues, it was equally as bad, if not worse, when Tommy was going through his stuff. Like, you were a mess. And so when we watch someone we love struggle or go through obstacles or have mental health concerns or physical health concerns, it can be even more debilitating and crippling than when you go through it yourself. Because I think when you put it on, when it's not yourself, it almost makes you feel more helpless. because you don't know what they're feeling, you don't know how well someone's communicating with you. So it can be really challenging. And so I think Taylor and I are going to proceed with the rest of the show, trying to add that perspective to things as well.
Yes, I'm so glad you brought up the loved ones. Oh my gosh, because I think a lot of people may have experienced what I've experienced, and that's seeing a loved one, so a significant other, a best friend, a child, just seeing them go through some health issues. And because you get so wrapped up in that and your anxiety levels skyrocket through the roof, you can start developing your own mental health illnesses and manifesting some physical things in yourself that could stick around for a long time. And I know, Nikki, you shared with me that I literally worked myself up into like a health spasm thing. I was fine. In the words of Nikki, it's fine. I was fine, but because I was so stressed and so anxious, worrying about another loved one's health and his mental health on top of that, it really had a negative impact on me. And I'm sure there's so many of you out there that may have been following our show thinking, I don't necessarily meet the criteria for actually having anxiety or depression. I might experience some of those feelings, but it's not taking over my life or impacting my life. But my wife or my husband or my child, like the very things you guys have defined, I see that in them. And that can be hard.
Oh, absolutely. And I think too, something that we want to touch base on today as we enter into this holiday season too, is continuing to talk about and focusing on loss and grief. So today, Taylor and I are going to begin the show kind of talking about that, because that also ties into anxiety and depression, and nothing is separate. So it all mixes together. And so I know that a lot of our clients this time of year, we find the conversation, and this doesn't matter if it's our business clients or our trauma clients, the conversation always tends to end up steering towards loss and grief.
Mm.
And it comes in so many different shapes and sizes and experiences. But I think with all of these holidays back to back, with Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's being so close together, it really just makes any kind of loss and grief feel insurmountable.
Mm.
And there's so many different experiences. So Taylor, I don't know if you want to speak to some of the stories we've heard just in the past couple of weeks with some of our clients, and hopefully you guys can resonate and we can help you in some kind of way today.
So you guys know one thing that I have always brought through all these shows and the theme is the coronavirus. No matter how many times we try to avoid it, it still rears its ugly head. But when I think about loss in terms of losing relationships, not because somebody passed away, but just because we're not able to celebrate the holidays as usual with people in person. Here in central Pennsylvania, the governor put out some mandates stating that we're allowed to gather, but you have to have less than 10 people, I believe, something like that. And for those who have big families, right, like my husband's family, his mom is one of 5 and his grandmother is one of 16. So there's like millions of cousins just in central PA, some in Atlanta as well. But just normally for the holidays, everybody comes together. They cook a beautiful dinner. Then we go over to my mom's house for Christmas Eve, and have a party there. But when I think about the fact that that's not going to happen this year, that hits me home for a loss.
Mm-hmm.
A loss, something that has meant so much to me that I'm not going to be able to experience this year. And, there might be some people out there that say, well, it's just temporary, get over it. I don't like when people say that to somebody who has felt a loss, because to you it might mean nothing, but to somebody else it might be very significant.
Absolutely. And I love that you say that sometimes we try to give words of encouragement, but it can come off really hurtful and harmful. And I think it's very important to know that line, because for me personally, I know that is unfortunate and it's not going to be as fun, but it's not a significant loss. But I also know, God willing, that I have lots more holidays ahead of me. For people who, might be older or suffering from sickness and who may be counting the amount of holidays they have left, that can be absolutely devastating. And Taylor, for you being the social connective creature that you are, I also know for you that can really put a damper on how you start the new year and how much energy and flow you have, because you don't have that to carry you forward like you normally do.
Mm-hmm. So not only is it the loss of being able to spend time with family, especially during the holidays, something else that comes to mind, Nikki, that we've seen a lot is just this loss of expectations in general. over the last 2 shows of this series, we kind of talked about people who are overcommitting and over expecting through the holidays. But then on the opposite side of that, we do have that loss of expectation. So maybe, you had this beautiful plan to bring everybody together or to get yourself excited for the holidays, but you're just not living up to that. And losing the connection in those relationships as well. So I think that's the major theme that I have seen in many of our clients and many of the therapy clients that I have as well.
Yeah, and I think I'll continue, for self-disclosure, that loss of expectation is something that hits home for me. So Taylor, you were talking about like the loss of that connection that you normally have. And I'm like, okay, that's unfortunate, but I will survive. For me though, I can feel the grieving process every holiday on the loss of expectations. And so unlike Taylor and her husband, I have a very small family. We're not very connected. So I've always wanted, and I shouldn't say I had an expectation, but had a burning desire to have what Taylor just described. And I know we've touched base on this in previous shows, but that large family gathering and people laughing and having a good time. And so grieving those kinds of losses for me, it's so difficult because every year I'm like, maybe this will be the year. And I know I was super excited because Taylor, I know we had plans for me to spend holidays with your family this year for different reasons. And so I know that's something I was really treasuring. And so for me, even though it's not something I've had in the past, it was something I was very much looking forward to. And so that can absolutely feel like a devastating loss sometimes.
Absolutely. And guys, as you're watching this, we always like to call you to action. If you are experiencing any mental health illnesses, please, you can email us or reach out to us, but also drop down below in the comments any loss of expectations that you might be having or how the holidays are impacting you overall.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that we talk about it, and this is a safe space to do that because, I know for me, I have a hard time complaining or feeling that I can grieve over that when I have so much to be thankful for. Like I have the best life. I truly do. And I wake up every day so, so happy. So I almost feel guilty for being able to say, well, my expectations weren't completely met and woe is me when there's so many people in this world suffering. But also containing that, we know from it will show up somehow. When we contain our feelings and we bottle them up, it will explode in a different kind of way. And so it's okay to still have gratitude and still feel like crap about some of these minor losses and to grieve over that. And it's perfectly normal. And we need to be able to have a platform to normalize those feelings.
And it's so important to remember, again, just tying in the Bible verse, the theme of our show today is that even though things might be stacking against you and your back is against the wall and you've lost those expectations or you feel overstressed, always remember that the thoughts and the plans that God has for your life is to deliver you peace, not evil. You got to remember that and more specifically get out of that mindset, guys. I know last week we talked about a couple of different mindsets that keep us down when mental illness is a problem for us. You got to remain open-minded as much as you can. Try to figure out how to be optimistic. Maybe you have to look at your own thoughts and shift that around so that you can find the peace and that you can deliver yourself from the mental illness that's keeping you down.
Yeah, and if it's you or a loved one experiencing mental illness, Taylor, I love that you just talked about mindsets. I like to shift whatever mindset, so we need to sit in those feelings. We talked about that in past episodes, to sit and to feel, but not to sit for too long. And so I think in lieu of talking about the different things you may be experiencing, whether it's yourself or a loved one that's really struggling right now, or you have loss of expectations or loss of what should have been or what could have been this year, to remember there's an old book, I think it's from the 80s. I read it in grad school, but it was called You Will Dream New Dreams. But I've kind of turned that into my own mantra, and we use it in coaching all the time as a mindset. And what that means is like, yes, things may look different. So you have to dream your dream a little bit differently, and it's going to be a new dream, but it's still just as good and as healthy. Just because it's different, it's okay. And I think we really have to embrace that mantra this year with everything that's happening, that yes, the holidays may not be what it used to be or how we expected it to be, but if we dream a new dream of it, it can be just as joyful and just as fulfilling.
So Nikki, I'm going to not challenge you, but maybe ask you to dig a little bit deeper with that. Dream a new dream. Absolutely love that. That really reminds me of another way of saying reframing.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to ask you for those watching, to connect that. How does reframing kind of resemble the dream a new dream? And how can people like maybe get started on that, especially if they're feeling weighed down right now with mental illness and the holidays, loss of expectations, all of that? How would you reframe?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Taylor. I think reframing, yes, reframing has a positive spin on things, but it's not just saying the positive. I think that's the key trait to reframing. And if you're using the words "at least" in your reframe, it's probably not a reframe. It's gonna make you feel horrible. I know, Taylor, I always hate like when people say to me, if I'm complaining about something, well, at least your leg isn't chopped off. I'm like, well, how is that helpful to me right now? Like, that doesn't make me feel at all better. So in dreaming new dreams in a healthy way that makes sense to our brains, in reframing in a way that makes sense to our brains, I think it's first you have to identify the problem. That's part of a reframe, is acknowledging and saying the problem. Mm-hmm. So, I am unhappy because I'm not spending the holidays with my family this year. Okay, that's the first part of the reframe. And then I think the second part of the reframe is truly finding the ways that will benefit you. And if you're unsure, saying that. So, I'm not spending the holidays with my family this year, but I'm learning to get creative in how I connect with people, and that will serve me well in the future. Mm-hmm. So I think those are the two components of the reframe, is stating the problem and then clearly knowing how it's going to help you. And if you don't know, then maybe saying that, I don't know how this is going to help me right now, but I'm confident in myself that I will continue to look and dig deep until I find a way that it serves me.
In the words of Brene Brown, clear is kind, right? You just got to get real with yourself. If you don't know, you don't know. But so I'm going to do this dream a new dream and identify the problem for myself, just to see if I'm on track. So again, I mentioned earlier, my problem is I love being around family, normally 50 plus at the same time, right? Including Tommy's family and my family. Can't do that this year. So that's the problem. So now I want to identify ways that it will benefit me and kind of maybe alleviate some of that anxiety and stress.
I'm going to interrupt you. Why is not spending time with that many people a problem for you? Dig deeper.
It's a problem for me because I am such a contacting person. I cherish and admire being able to see family and friends in person, because there's a stark difference, obviously, between doing this Zoom thing or like even with us split screen. I'd much rather be with you in person doing this show. But same thing with family. I'd much rather be in person, reading their body language, talking to them, showing them that I'm here for them. That's why.
Being around other people, you feel like you can serve them better. Is kind of what I heard too. You can show up better.
Yep.
Okay. Now go ahead with your problem.
Okay. Okay. So this year, because of coronavirus, I'm not able to be with all my family, but I am happy that everybody is able to spend their holidays in the way that suits them and everybody's staying safe. Mm-hmm. Is that a good reframe?
Yeah. How is it serving you though? You said you hope the best for them. How is that helping you by learning to do things differently?
It serves me because I know that they're safe. So many people get in this mindset of, oh, I know that there's a specific problem, but it would never happen to me.
Okay.
Even when it comes to trauma, when it comes to just all the bad possible things that could happen to you in this life, oh, that wouldn't happen to me. And I think many of us get stuck in that mindset with coronavirus. So we still, go to gatherings, we still expose ourselves to COVID, we still do all these things because we think it's not going to happen to us. So for me, it serves me knowing that you're going to be at your house, I'm going to be at my house, like family stuff. We could still Zoom, even though I don't want to do that, but we're still going to be safe and not expose each other to the risk of getting coronavirus.
Nice job. Yeah, and I think that was a prime example of, we can state the problem and give ourselves an answer. But if you find that that's not satisfying to you, it's probably because you didn't dig deep enough. So kind of like how I forced Taylor to pause. And I know she was doing that in her head because this is what we do for a living. But to be able to explain that to you guys, if you're stating the problem, like, oh, I can't be with my family, that's not good enough. If you're really trying to reframe and you're not used to doing this every day, you have to be able to explain why it's a problem for you. What does it mean for you? How does it change your feelings about things? Do any fears show up? It really is quite a process to reframe. And I think that's where reframing doesn't work for a lot of people. It's like, well, I'm trying to stay positive, it's not working. Yeah, because we're not addressing the underlying issues as to why you feel the way that you do. And I think that's key to the reframe, is being able to look below the surface.
So shifting, what I'm hearing is shifting that mindset can bring you peace.
Absolutely. And knowing how to dig deep.
So guys, digging deep is definitely a skill set that may take some time to develop. But just like any other skill in this world, the more you practice it and the more you focus on that, the better you're going to get at it. So again, identify your problem, especially around the holiday times, and continue to dig deep about why it's such a problem to you and how to shift it and what it would mean for you. I think, again, pulling in the Bible piece there, is that it's going to bring so much peace and joy to your heart to look at things through a different lens.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, again, it's important that we talk about these things. So you certainly don't have to. But if it's your loved ones at home, like Taylor said earlier, and I know my favorite quote of the year is, being clear is being kind. Mm-hmm. Right. So not only being able to dig deep for yourself, but then being able to explain that to the people that matter to you. Right. So Taylor, you're going to have to clearly identify why you feel not as good about yourself, because you can't serve your family in the way that you're used to, and explaining that to Tommy. Right. And I know, like, I've been trying to be a little bit more aware of how I explain things to people. Like, we have this snow day planned. I rescheduled like everything on my schedule today because I was so excited about this snow day.
Nikki, you have literally been texting me. I mean, ever since she found out last week about this snowstorm coming, she's like, I'm moving everything around. She's like, I'm doing everything on Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday and Thursday, don't contact me. I'm going to be with my boyfriend and the dog in the backyard, building igloos, snowball fights, all that. I'm not going to be available. So
that is exactly. So that's an example I was going to use. Yeah.
Verbatim.
So I planned this day out knowing that snow was coming. And when Sean got home, I was like, okay, this is happening and this is happening, and I'm going to wear this, and I have my snow boot. And he's like, oh, okay, like, we have all day, like, why are you stressed? And it's one of those things I assume people know, and then I forget because I don't tell them, because I'm not clear, and that's not kind. And so when we talked about those expectations, Taylor, earlier, and kind of like this grieving process or things that come up around the holidays, for me, having big snows was something that happened a lot when I was super young. And as I got older, it didn't happen anymore. And I remember that, because my childhood wasn't always the smoothest. There was a lot going on. But at that time when we used to get big snows, was a time that was super happy for me. I associate that with that. I associate playing with, I had a lab shepherd mix in my backyard. Like, it was my safe space. Mm-hmm. And so anytime we get a big snow, I instantly go back there in my mind. And so it's really important for me to kind of be able to live in that moment of peace and happiness again. And that's why these things are so important. But if you don't explain that to people, you set yourself up for failure, because, Sean was like, I am going to go sleep all day and watch TV and I don't care what you do. I would have been devastated and probably picked a fight, and then he would not have known why. So, when we dig deep, we have to know what triggers us. We have to know these expectations around the holidays, where our mental health plays into that, and then being able to effectively communicate that with the people that have to put up with you.
Nikki, I'm so happy that you shared that, and a little bit of self-disclosure, because I didn't even know that. Like, I know you get happy about snow, but I didn't know that's why.
Yep. I think one of my fondest memories was my dad, when he still lived with us, built an igloo in my backyard, and I literally sat in that thing with my dog for like 4 hours until he made me come inside because he thought I was gonna die. I was like 5. One of the best memories I have. And so, I try to, I don't want to say recreate, because I understand it's a different time and space, but I really try to enjoy snow days now when I have them. Yeah.
See, like, me and my brothers growing up, we lived in Ohio because my parents were in the military. So Wright-Patterson, I think Wright-Patterson's in Dayton. That's where we grew up. It used to always snow, and we would get inches and inches and feet even. And we would be out there playing all the time. So I absolutely love snow as well, but it doesn't mean as much to me as it does to you. Yeah. And that's why communicating those things to people around you and to your loved ones can really make your relationship flow a little bit better. It's going to decrease the possible misunderstandings or the fights or the stress or the anxiety or whatever can pop up from disagreements in relationships, right? So I'm so happy you shared that.
Yeah, 100%. So I didn't realize you didn't know that. Is something
No.
about you don't know? What?
One thing I don't know about you? Are you kidding me? I know everything.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm shocked. So yeah, when we're talking about this anxiety and this depression in this series and different mental health, and we kind of started the show saying, even if you're not experiencing it, having to go through it with a loved one, that can be a loss. And you can grieve that of, okay, this is a loss of a relationship that maybe you feel like you shouldn't have to take care of someone. So if you have a parent or a significant other, they're adults. I don't feel like I should have to take care of them, and I do. It's okay to still love and support those people around you and still grieve what in your mind should be. And again, like we keep saying, we have to be clear about that, because so many of us walk around not knowing what triggers us, not knowing how our mental health shows up, not knowing how to properly reframe because we've never been taught how to dig deep. And then what's worse is, let's say you figure that out. Well, it does you no good if we don't know how to communicate it and be vulnerable and have clear conversations. And so if you guys get anything out of this show today, it's making sure that you actively work on those two key elements, because it will absolutely significantly make your life better.
Mm-hmm. And just want to piggyback on what you said about the triggers and being aware of those. I feel like so many people, even our coaching clients, Nikki, I don't know if you've seen this, but just avoidance of those triggers. Like maybe subconsciously we know, but we avoid talking about it because we don't want to become embarrassed. We don't want to seem incompetent. We don't, whatever fear of is happening, whatever negative emotion is happening. But again, I'm sorry, I want to keep repeating this mantra. Clear is kind. Communication is kind. Once you call things to the light, you get a better understanding of what it is, and it kind of releases that control that it's having over your life. Pulling back in the Bible verse, for I know the thought that I think towards you, says the Lord, thoughts of peace and not evil, to give you an expected end. That's basically saying, another way of saying, like, let's call things to the light. Let's release things that have control over your life so that you can have peace and that you can attain your expected end and the script that he has written for your life.
Absolutely. And so I think before we close today, Taylor and I often ask our clients if it's okay if we record the sessions. And so we had some recordings. And so we transcribed one of the recent sessions we had. And I know Taylor has it printed out. I do not. But we kind of just want to go over what it looks like. We talk about coaching, we talk about mental health and business coaching. And I don't know if you guys have never had a coach, what that looks like. So we're just going to quickly, for like 5 minutes, run through some of that transcript. With Taylor playing the part of our one client and me being the therapist. So I'll play both the parts of Taylor and I during that session, just to kind of give you guys an idea of what a session looks like or some of the things we talk about.
All right.
Remember, this was a session last week, so I'm pretty sure I remember pretty close what we said. Taylor from Off, let me know, because you had the transcript today.
I got it right here. Okay. Just to give everybody a quick background, it literally matches up with our show topic, and it's so perfect. This client was really struggling with the holidays, if you will, and just being able to show up for herself, for her family, and she's a high achiever too. So that's a big thing. And mental health shows up differently in high achievers. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into that.
Taylor, what name are we giving this person, just for confidentiality purposes?
Ava.
I was going to say Laura. Okay, I'll go with Ava. That's my kitty's name.
Oh, that's why I picked it.
Okay. So Ava, and this is real life, not the name, but the information we're going to give. Ava is in her early to mid 30s, very successful businesswoman, husband and 2 kids at home.
Okay. Ready?
I'm ready.
Oh, Nikki, I don't know how to overcome this. This is just becoming too much. I'm stuck.
In what ways are you feeling stuck?
I'm an overachiever. I plan everything. I have my calendar listed what I'm supposed to be doing from the minute I wake up at 5 a.m. to the minute I go to sleep at 10 p.m., putting the kids to bed, getting out my newsletters, meeting with clients all day long. But for some reason, I'm just falling off. Like, I'm not sticking to that. I'm just acting like it's not even there. It's like my mind goes blank.
What is it about having that schedule that makes you feel good?
Predictability.
Why does predictability make you feel good?
Because when I predict things, I'm sorry, when things are listed out and I'm able to know the outcome, it really makes me feel like I have things in control.
So what's your relationship with control then, and how has that played a role in your life?
Whew. You know, my husband always tells me I have an issue with control. He's always saying, why do you have to know all the details? Why do you have to control everything? Just go with the flow. Like, things will be okay as they come. He's more of a like handle things as they come, and I'm more of a planner. Like, I have to plan. I have to know what the outcome is going to be. But I think before I like came to this point in my life, things were just out of control, and I didn't know up from down, and I don't want to go back there.
What feelings did you have when you felt out of control in your life?
Sadness, I'm not confident, insecure, incompetent.
If you think back to your childhood, were there times you felt incompetent or insecure?
Yeah, for sure.
What was happening around those times?
Well, you sure you want to know?
And we're going to cut out here. So, you know, Taylor and I could have taken this call when we had this call last week, 1,000 different directions. This is the direction it happened to go. And Ava, I forgot, I almost used the real name. Ava went on to tell us some really traumatic experiences that happened to her that she had no control over. And so she did not realize that she had made it a point in her life to control every little thing because it made her feel safe. It made her feel that she could keep her kids safe. It made her feel she could keep her relationship together. And so any kind of unpredictability in her schedule, even if it was something what we call stupid, she wasn't consciously connecting, but she was going back to feeling out of control and those feelings of fear. And that was a muscle memory where she would get sweaty and she didn't know why she was so stressed. And we connected that. She realized that her brain was taking her back to a really scary event that happened to her and where she was violated. So that's kind of where coaching calls started out. Someone may be starting out complaining about, oh, I just feel overwhelmed. I hate the stress of the holidays. But everything we do and everything we feel is connected to something much deeper. And we, like Taylor, your favorite saying is we can't always see the forest through the trees. We don't know why we have these reactions a lot of times. And so a coaching call can always take us in 1,000 different directions, but that was just one quick transcript we had last week of where this business owner started out the call saying she wanted to have ideas for 2021 for her business, started out complaining about things, and it led us down a completely different path than what we were planning on.
Absolutely, guys. And also wanted to share, that's so common. People always come to us with problem A. This is what they're adamant on working on. But, you know, Nikki and I, we dig deeper. We use cognitive behavioral therapy techniques to dig deeper and look at the life experiences, uncover some of those things that are showing up in their lives. Many times we think we have a problem in our personal lives and it's contained to personal lives, but that's not true. It always flows into personal, professional relationships with your kids, spouses, whatever. It always shows up one way or another. So we always target that so that we can get real change, lasting change, and stuff that's going to stick around for you and heal you from some of the things you've been through.
Absolutely. So we hope that you guys gained some good information from the show or that something resonated with you. Please keep watching us every Wednesday at 2 o'clock.
Thank you guys for tuning in this week to MINDTRIP, where we explore the connections between mindsets and mental health. You can please follow us on Instagram at BKLLC19, as well as our Facebook page, Bryant Katsaounis Life Coaching.
Also, please go to our website at visiondrivencoaching.com. There you can sign up for a newsletter. We promise we won't spam you. Sometimes we send newsletters out weekly. Lately, it's been once every few months because my job is to do the newsletters and Taylor's job is to edit those. And we have both been not living up to our potential in that category. But they will start coming out here beginning the new year weekly. But again, if you subscribe, that's all you get. There's no promotions or things to, you know, you have to purchase, nothing like that. It's just free content we like to give out to help serve you.
And lastly, guys, as a reminder, we are not having a show next Wednesday, I think the 23rd. She Is Still Dope Network is taking a Christmas break. Woohoo! We get to celebrate Christmas with our families and stay home and cozy up by the fireplace. I do believe that there is going to be a global women's show taking place on Christmas at noon. I'm sure Miss Bailey will drop that in the comments below. But please tune into that, guys, since there's going to be no shows next week. As always, we will pick up with you guys the following Wednesday at 2 p.m. We're going to tie together. There we go. God's Army. There we go. Christmas Day, Friday at noon. It's going to be an amazing, amazing show. I believe it's women from all over the world, which is so cool to bring people together. But yes, again, sorry guys. The following Wednesday, please tune into our show. We're going to tie together how to get yourself out of this mental health trap, shine some light on some things for you guys, and kind of deliver you from the spirit that's been holding you down.
Absolutely. And if there's any show topics you'd like to see us cover, please shoot us an email at info@visiondrivencoaching.com, and we will be sure to find a way to fit it in for January or February.
All right, guys, have a great day and happy holidays.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.